we thank you.
All right. So it looks like we are live, but let me double
Are
check
we
to make
live? Are we
sure
live?
we're really on. So yes, we are. We are. All right, ladies and any gents who might be tuning in to check
Oh,
us out. I'm Dr. Cherita Weatherspoon, founder and CEO of Powerhouse Coaching, creator of The Coaches Are In, business strategist and alignment coach. And tonight, Dr. Malika Turner is joining me. I'll give her an opportunity to introduce herself.
hi, everyone. I am, as Dr. Sharita said, I'm Dr. Malika Turner, and I am the CEO and lead trainer for the speaker. Got things okay flying around for the Speak Her. I'm really excited to be here. I'm a life coach as well, and one of the hosts of The Coaches Are In. So good to be here.
Yes, yes. So we decided that while we are on hiatus this season, that we would do a couple of pop-ups over the summer just to stay connected, stay top of mind, because we don't want y'all to forget about us, right?
We are
So
still here. We are working.
yes, yes. So we wanted to do that. So this is the first of our summer pop-ups, and I think what they probably all will be me one on one with each of the coaches, and doing a little deeper of a dive, to allow you to get to know them better, find out what they do, how they do it, who they serve,
Mhm.
and all of that. In case you want to learn more about that and connect with them, and get the help that you need to help you up level to your next level. So we're kicking that off with Dr. Malika. And Dr. Malika is, as she said, a life coach, confidence coach, and she is in the position that a lot of um, early um, emerging entrepreneurs are in,
Mhm.
where she is still working in her profession and building her business on the side. And I thought it would be great, to have a conversation with her, because everyone has a story and everyone has a journey, right? Like, none of us wake up like this, whatever this may be,
Absolutely.
and I know that sometimes we can get discouraged, when we're not
Mhm.
able to go after the thing that we want, like, and give it our 100% effort, time, and energy and focus. Um, and sometimes we choose to not move at all rather
Mm,
than do what we can. But sometimes you just got to get started in the situation, in the circumstances that you're in, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing or bad situation, but you got to start making steps so that you can eventually be able to do that thing that you really want to do.
right.
So Dr. Malika, can you share a little bit about what you do professionally? Just a little bit about that, because
That's
well,
not what we're here for.
right, that's not what we hear. But
So,
just
just a
so they
little
know why that doctor is there, right? You got some credentials and
bit.
experience backing what you do as a coach. Okay.
Right.
So a little bit about what you do professionally, and then what you do as a coach.
So, for the last 25 years, and this is year 25, I've worked in higher education, specifically in student affairs. I'm currently the assistant vice president for student affairs at IUP. And so I've been afforded the opportunity to gain a lot of experience in what I'm doing. Um, I've been able to utilize the skill set in my full time profession. But I've also had the opportunity to take some time to kind of figure out, like, who am I? How do I want to show up outside of IUP? And so I have really had, um, on the one hand, to be able to impact students as well as staff there, but to take what I'm learning and be able to move into what I feel like I was born to do, right? So I have always had this love of, well, I've always felt drawn to help women be better, right? To show up better women, right? Um, so I've had nonprofits. My book is geared towards women, right? So for me, the coaching, the training, all of that, I was able to dabble. It's a part of my responsibility in my full-time profession, and was able to kind of transition and say, hey, I want to really focus not on students, but I want to focus on women, and I want to start my own. And you made a good point. I'm at that point where a lot of women, there are some women, everybody has um, their own picture of how this whole entrepreneur thing works, right? So some people leave the job, start the business, take out the loans or whatever, the grants, and start the business. I have worked full time, started the business, and
Mhm.
have had to really find my way and make some conscious moves and say, you know what, while I know that I'm working full time in this profession, I have got to transition myself and really move into being this entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur. And so you can't do that unless you are investing time into being an entrepreneur. And so that was something I think that I had to really learn. Like, you can't invest 40 hours a week into being this higher ed professional, and 3 hours a week on being an entrepreneur, because that's what you're going to get back,
Right, right.
right? So we had to kick it up a notch, and that's where we are now.
Mhm, mhm. So I especially appreciate the last part of what you said, but I want to add on to that. For those of you who only have 3 hours to give, give that 3 hours.
Yes, yes, very true,
Okay,
very
give
true.
what you can give to it, because it's all building blocks. It just may take you a little bit longer, but you'll still get there if you keep putting in whatever time you can, and that time is devoted time. So if you're going to
Right,
take 3 hours on Saturday morning from 6 to 9 before everybody in the house is up, make sure set your alarm, get up, get showered, get dressed, so like your body is energized and like you're going to work, and then go find your space and go to work on your business, and don't open the door until that 3 hours are up, or
right.
you've accomplished what you said you were going to accomplish during that time.
Yeah, I think that's important. And that's something I've done, as you know, all over my house, create these spaces, these workspaces that are specifically for the business, the speaker, and showing up. Something my husband shared with me a couple weeks ago was he heard where a professional athlete who is now on the circuit with a book that he just wrote. He said he spent 18, I think I'm see if I can get it right. He spent 18 minutes a day on something that he wanted to do well. And he said, and it wasn't so much about that he got better, but it was the consistency.
Let's
And the
see.
consistency, when you show up consistently for something, that pays off in ways that you can't even imagine. And so I have on my calendar 18 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
18 minutes a day, right? So you end up doing more, but
Mm-hmm.
it's on the calendar, like 18 minutes a day. So I would encourage folks to, if there's something you want to improve on and want to do, like, ladies, even if it's 18 minutes a day, I guarantee you will not stop at 18 minutes. You'll probably do an hour.
Right. Yes, yes. So, for those of you who are tuning in, I'm here with Dr. Malika Turner, one of the co hosts of The Coaches Are In. And this is our first summer pop up, where we're just reconnecting with you while the show is on hiatus.
Mhm.
So, we make sure you don't forget about us. We are seeing your comments. For whatever reason, I'm using StreamYard. I'm not able to reply to your comments. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but I am seeing your comments. So thank you for tuning in. And um, if you want to ask a question, feel free to ask a question and we'll answer your question as well. So we're talking a little bit about Dr. Malika's kind of background, professional background, and kind of managing and balancing being a full-time employee while trying to build a business as well. Um,
Mhm.
and she's already shared a little bit about that, kind of the need to, up what she is investing in her business so she can get greater returns from
Right.
the business, because what you put in, you'll get out. What you sow is
You
what
will
you'll
read.
reap. Right?
That's right. Biblical principle that people use all the time.
Yes, yes, yes. Hey there, Stephanie. Hey,
Hey,
Allison.
Stephanie. Allison.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit more about the speaker and
Mhm.
the work that you do in that program.
So the speaker really was taking a lot of what I wanted to do and putting it under an umbrella. I felt like the speaker was like another baby that was birthed. And I have to give a shout out to Powerhouse Coaching under Dr. Cherita, who that's her right there. Oh wait, there she go. Who really worked with me on creating a framework for the speaker. So the speaker is all about helping women. That's my audience, specifically women in leadership, um, women who are entrepreneurs, and just women who want to improve their value, I would say, in their businesses or even in the workplace. And it's all about providing you with the tools to help you improve in areas of communication, your executive presence, and your confidence. Those three specific things are what we work on. I've lately been working on leadership and creating some materials on leadership and doing that training as well. But I think my goal is to see women be able to show up. If you go on my Instagram, the speaker's Instagram page on May 31st, I talked about how we show up. And a lot of times it's not just the outward show up. Our executive presence starts on the inside. So I talk about that inward work that needs to be done. So we tackle all of those pieces so that we can make sure that we help women show up, right, in their excellence.
Yes, good, good, good. And I have to say, you know, having worked with Dr. Malika on her framework and building it all out, that it is a really good framework, and the
It
process
is.
is excellent. And if you are a woman in leadership and management, especially if you have responsibilities that require you to, get in front of people to present ideas, to get buy-in and things like that, or managing teams, that and you have some confidence issues
Mhm.
around that, definitely connect with her, and find out more about her work and how she can help you develop in that area so you can show up as the powerhouse you are.
That you are. Now, I'm just gonna laugh, y'all, because look, we gonna keep it real. Can we keep it real, Dr. Sharita?
Yes, we can, absolutely.
My necklace is not latched, and it keeps slipping down. I said, you know what? People like when you keep it real. I'm just gonna remove. Let's carry on. Miss Joyce is on. I know she can appreciate the realness up there. Hey, Joyce.
Yes.
It was sliding down. I was like,
I
okay,
feel
this,
like it's wrong.
this
Yeah,
is not working.
just take it out. Yes. So let's shift the conversation a little bit and talk more specifically around confidence. Now, if you saw the coaches already, especially our intro show, and we kind of talked about how, like, most of us knew each other between the four of the coaches. Most of us knew each other. I knew everybody, right? um, but Dr. Malika and I went to college together. So just like full transparency, there's relationship and history there. She is my oldest child's godmother. And so because of that longevity and relationship, um, we know a lot about each other. We've
Mhm.
seen each other in various stages of
Of
life,
our lives.
and we've talked through a lot of stages of our lives. And I can say both of us have dealt with confidence issues
Mhm.
around different things, whether it was being a parent, whether it was in our marriages, whether it was in the workplace, whether it was
Mhm.
in our businesses.
Right.
So for those of you who do deal with confidence issues, one, know that you're not alone.
Right.
I would say that any normal person at some point doubts their ability, or maybe their worthiness or whatever, and some of that can be just kind of like from your own self stuff, and
Mhm.
some of it can be based on things that other people are saying to you. So it's not necessarily that there's a fix, right? So
Right.
that you'll never deal with a confidence issue again, but there is this need to be able to recognize when there is a confidence issue versus a competence issue, because sometimes
Right.
you can get those mixed up,
Right. Right. Right.
and how to deal with it when it comes, so that it doesn't stop you from moving
Mhm.
forward. So what was it, in all of the work that you do, um, what was it that really got you focusing on that confidence piece and helping people to show up more authentically and powerfully?
I think for me, because it was a major issue in my life, so much so, and how it would show up for me is that everyone else was right.
Mm,
Everyone else's ideas mattered. Everyone else's thoughts. It was like, "Oh, okay. Oh, okay, let's go jump off the bridge together. Oh, okay." Even if I knew that, so the and the and the internal thing that you struggle with, that I would struggle with, in situations, in scenarios, even in the professional setting, in meetings, feeling like I don't have anything important to say, or maybe I would have a thought, but I'd be too afraid to share it because what if I'm wrong? And that was another piece. Like, what if I'm wrong? Everyone else is important, and what if I'm wrong? So I
mm,
think in my professional, like my work setting, I think one, I realized that in order for me to move forward, that I was going to have to get a handle on this confidence thing,
mhm,
right? And I was it w in that it's okay to be wrong,
mhm.
but it's all but you gotta step out there in order to know you're wrong or
Right.
right, either way, you
Right.
know? And I think how you build that muscle, for me, it was like I needed to build that muscle in my work setting, right? Um, yes, yeah, it is okay. I see you, Stephanie. It's okay to be wrong, and I had to be okay with that.
Mhm,
Um, but I also, on the flip side, um, I was in my other settings,
mhm.
so say like my church settings, where I was very confident
Right.
and my
Right.
ideas were being heard
Mhm.
and I was showing up strong. And I was thinking to myself, I need to marry the two people. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yes.
I
Mhm.
need to marry I need to pull these two women, maybe not marry, but I need to pull these two women together.
Not like Mary. Y'all need to come into covenant with each other.
Right, okay. See, I wasn't sure, but that's how it would show up. I'm
Yeah.
giving you that's a
Mhm.
live example of, like, to me, those 2 people did not align, and so it was like, I'm confident here, I can sing the house down, I will lead all day, blah, 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 and then on the other hand, I'm, like, questioning whether I should even be in this position, and
Mhm.
what I found was I definitely needed to not only, like we said, marry those 2, they needed to be in covenant, like you said,
Mhm.
but then I enjoyed helping other women see, like,
Right.
"You got it. You
Mhm.
got it. Like, you're all that. Come on, you can do this." And so becoming the motivator and pushing women that I knew into like it's already in you. I'm just excited about helping you get there and pushing you to be what you need to be and pushing you into a confident place. So it was kind of like when I got the revelation, I wanted to help other women do the same thing and to recognize that confidence in them.
That's good. Now I love that you use the word alignment. Because that's that's my thing.
Mhm, mhm,
Over the last year, I have gotten so much clarity around the need, the necessity of alignment, really in all areas of your life. But
mhm,
in order to really have the things that you say you want to have, to do the things that you want to do, to be able to manifest this grand vision that you have in your head,
mhm,
your heart, like you have to be aligned. And for me, with like the work that I do in my business is around spiritual alignment, lifestyle alignment, offer alignment, and operational alignment, and working specifically with CEOs, right?
mhm, mhm.
Because you can build a thing that is a good thing, but it not be the thing
Right,
because you were either misaligned from the beginning or
right,
along the way as you changed what you were doing didn't change to match who you now were,
right,
and the thing that you built is no longer in alignment with you, and you
right,
want to burn it down, but you don't want to burn it down because who wants to burn it down and start over, right?
right, right,
You suffer with this thing that is good on the face is good, but it's no longer good for you, right? So I'd love just kind of identifying that there were these two really kind of like personalities or personas of yourself that were misaligned, right? Because the reality is
exactly.
you are both people. It's
Right,
not like you were faking the funk on one side.
right,
Other one is really who you were. You were both people, but it's almost like one, like you didn't, one, that bold part of you didn't recognize the other one. And then the other one that, kind of, let me just sit back and be quiet. And when they ask me a question, I'll, offer my answer. Didn't recognize the bold part of you. So they had to get in
right.
alignment with each other. Um, I also think that where this problem exists and it's allowed to kind of grow or just kind of be unmanaged and not dealt with is because we often don't recognize that we have all of these transferable skills. And when we think about going from job to job, we'll think about transferable skills. But
Right.
we don't think about like going from business, or being an employee to being an entrepreneur or the
Right.
employer, like how those same things that you did in your job translate and transfer over to what you can do in your business. Like these skill sets are not mutually exclusive,
Exclusive. Yeah.
right?
I
Yeah.
I will say too, one of the areas that I lacked confidence was writing.
Mm,
And to this day, I still am like, "Ugh." Not as much as I used to be, but I definitely had issues with confidence because sometimes, again, there's you have confidence in one area, and then this muscle is not as strong, so you don't think you can do you can't do the heavy lifting over here because your muscles aren't quite used to carrying that.
right.
Not that your muscles can't, it's that they're not used to it.
Right.
And I would that was one of the things that I think about, and I'll tell you just recently um I've had to write some agreements and I've had to write some proposals lately and and submit, and it is interesting how things just kick right in. I mean,
Mhm.
one proposal I was like, okay, this is pretty. You ever say that? Like, you put a package in, you're like, let me just sit back and look at this for a little bit. This thing is pretty. But I think that that comes from the skill that I use in my 9 to 5, right? Where I am required to do a good bit of writing.
Mhm.
And that's a muscle that I've strengthened. Not that I don't need an editor, right? Not that I don't need somebody, but that is one of those things where my confidence level, and I allowed myself to say I've improved in this area.
Mhm.
Sometimes your confidence starts with what you, and I'm a total believer of that. I will always, even on the show, I'm always, what are you saying to you?
Right.
Not in front of everybody, but what are you saying to you? What are you rehearsing behind closed doors? That's where the confidence begins,
Mhm. Or
right? What
in.
am I saying? Right. What am I saying to me when nobody's watching? Because
Mhm.
whatever is deep down inside of you, that's really what comes out of you. I don't care what you say in public. It's the
Mhm.
it's what's in the gut.
Yes.
That's what eventually comes out. And so I think that self-talk really makes a difference in how we show up when our confidence level.
Mhm. Mhm. Um, there was something. So, just talking about the writing piece.
Mhm.
So, um, you had confidence issues around that, but you, sister, have written a dissertation.
Absolutely. I did write that. Yes, I did.
You could not have those credentials
Right,
without having written a book, basically,
right,
right? Um, and not just wrote like I'm just free writing, but researching and having that work critiqued. Because when
right.
you go through that dissertation process, I mean, they tearing your stuff apart.
Yeah,
It's not easy to get to the point of defending your work.
right. Because they have to put their name on it.
Exactly. Exactly. So you accomplished that, right?
Mhm,
But still had this talk going on
mhm.
about your writing skills. Although we talked about this in one of the shows. There was truth that existed, evidence that existed that said those thoughts you had
Right. Work
is,
through.
if I cursed, I would say is specific.
Right, right.
Right.
Exactly.
So when the thoughts come, when the negative self-talk comes, we have to train ourselves to look for evidence that speaks to the contrary, because there always is. There always is.
Right,
And
right.
it may not always be like the obvious thing that I wrote a dissertation, right? Because maybe
Mhm.
you haven't actually written anything in a while, but when you were in school, all of all of your papers you got A's and B's on,
Right.
or you write things that you then speak, and people are talking about the power of your words and how impactful or motivational your message was, and you're just thinking about it from the perspective of you speaking it,
Right,
but you wrote the words that you spoke.
right. Yeah,
Right.
and I think I will say too, and I think a lot of women, we get caught up in this, is the comparison game, right? So, um, I write well in this area, but so and so writes really well in that area, and I'm like comparing, and I'm learning at 50 to really, I'll just say, cut down on. Let's cut down. I'm not going to promise you that I don't ever compare myself. Like, I'm 50 and I don't compare. No, but I have definitely, I try to catch myself, and it's the consciousness that
Mhm.
really helps us to get through. It's like I'm conscious now that I'm comparing myself to Dr. Cherita or Beyonce or so and so. I'm conscious now. So now I'm conscious, and now I address it.
Mhm.
And it doesn't take me as long, right, to do it. It's like
Right.
I'm older now. Okay, I'm not so and so. I'm me.
Right. And you is beautiful.
It's
You is intelligent.
know
You
what I'm saying?
have been blessed.
I'm intelligent. I'm smart. I smart.
Yous can ride
I
well.
can write. You know what I mean? I'm out here changing lives. And we have
Yeah.
to, ladies, if you're watching, I don't know who, I mean, I know some of the people are watching, but I'm telling you, we have to um we have to be okay with in our own space talking to our own self,
Hmm.
speaking life into our own self, like at home. We all of, and I'm learning this because I was a person who, if people didn't see it happening, then it doesn't happen.
Hmm.
I don't listen. I'm at home in my basement and I'm walking from one end to the other and I'm
Hmm.
speaking life into me. I'm not waiting for the prophet to come to the church and tell me in 6 months' time you're going to be blessed. I don't need somebody to tell me that.
Right.
I use the power that is within me through my words and I speak that over my own life. I
Hmm.
don't have to wait for some visitor to come. I don't have to wait for somebody to tell me, for some VP at some institution, or I don't need to go to a conference for somebody to tell me how great I am.
Right.
I know that I have greatness in me and I know who I am and I'm still evolving, still learning, but I'm speaking that into my life at home
Hmm.
so that kind of suppresses all the negative stuff that's deep
Right.
down, right? I'm
Right.
pushing that stuff out so that when I show up as when I tell people to go be great, I mean, I'm telling myself to go be great too.
Right. Yes. Yes.
I'm not gonna tell you to go be great. And I feel like, I want to build that confidence within me also.
Mm. So it comes back to alignment for me because you, in order for you to recognize that you are those things,
Yeah.
you have to recognize that you are those things, right?
Right. Right.
And so, who are you aligning yourself with? And because most of the people I work with happen to be Christians,
Mhm.
um, and I think that's just by nature of who I am and kind of the work that I do. Although it's not a requirement that you be a Christian to work with me,
Right.
but
Right.
but I don't hide who I am in my work either, right?
Right.
So, who are you aligned with? Who is your source, right? So, if you are a Christian
Hmm.
and you believe that God is a big God, and
Hmm.
that all things are possible in Him, and that He has empowered you, to get wealth, and just all of these scriptural biblical things that we say about God, and ultimately what God says about us. If
Hmm.
we don't believe those things are true about us, that is like definitive sign that you are out of alignment.
Right.
Because how can you, what's another, you cannot be in alignment with your source
Right.
who says you are all of these things if you don't believe you are all of these things.
Right.
That
Right.
makes
Right.
sense, right?
Yeah.
Right. So one, if you don't have a source that speaks life to you, you need to connect to one. Because the world can't be your source, because the world is going to give you messages that are going to tear you down.
That are contrary. I mean, absolutely. And
Yes.
the world is gonna the world is going to promote consistent, it is going to always tell you to get everything outside of you,
Right.
not that there's this greatness within you.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, the word of God is my source, like my book, my jam.
Hmm.
Now that does not mean I'm reading it every 5 minutes. That does not mean it's coming out of my mouth every 5 minutes either. But I recognize that God's hand has been on me from birth. And so I'm grateful that I connected with him, that I connected with Jesus Christ, that I am involved. I have a relationship with God. And so I can feel when I start going this way. Like I can feel it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And I'm not talking about blatant sin, but just that whole thing that I'm rehearsing in my mind, which starts acting out, or like depression. You don't want to move. I don't feel like praying.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like doing what the word says I need to do. I don't feel like I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. What does that even mean? Then you start questioning. And
Right.
that is natural. This is normal. This is not saying I'm going to hell. It's just saying I'm a human believer who sometimes struggles, right?
Right.
But I know enough to know, and God will send folks
Mm-hmm.
little messages, little conversations,
Mm-hmm.
a quick phone call. Girl, guess what? The Lord shared with me. I'm going to share it with you. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, um, and I think that kind of puts you back in place and puts you back in confidence
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
with the source. So my source is the Lord Jesus. The Word of God is my source, and I don't. I pray that I don't go any further. Like I pray that I never go far away. I pray that something in my life never happens that I say I'm done with that.
Right.
I would hope you would make a drive.
Mhm.
That you
Right.
get me together.
Snatch
Somebody come get me together, okay?
it.
But yeah, I think that is really important because everything in the world is really about self
Mm.
sabotage,
Mm-hmm.
finding everything outside of
Right.
fame, fortune,
Mhm.
fashion, um,
Right.
and confidence. When you're like, where's your confidence coming from?
Right. Those like kind of material things or what other people think of you, So if this group of people or that person, if they think
Hmm.
I'm this, then that makes me this thing.
And
Um,
that was my issue. I
mm-hmm.
had color issues. I'm too dark,
Mm-hmm.
my hair too tight, my legs too hairy, my feet too long. Um, just all kinds of
Right.
things growing up that I think we all encounter in some form or fashion. But I think when you get connected with the true confidence,
Mm-hmm.
God is my confidence. I think that you learn that when those contrary thoughts come up, you know how to deal with that. You have strategies, right? The word provides us with the strategies that we need,
Mm-hmm.
not just in our businesses, but in our personal lives, and how to deal with that.
Right. Yeah. So it provides it. It is our duty to accept it as truth,
Yeah,
even when it doesn't look like it is truth.
right. Right. If your business is not doing exceptionally well and you're like, I can't, but the word says, that I can do all things, I mean,
Right.
that does not mean that it is not moving in a successful place,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Because I believe that things like consistency, and that's a struggle for me. Anybody out there struggle with consistency? I think consistency is a struggle because it's that constant. It's like even when you're flesh and you don't feel like doing it, continuing to do it, like working out or taking your vitamins every day,
Right.
or um but I think it's knowing that in my end, I'm going to trust God. I'm going to believe that what I'm doing is going to pay off in dividends,
Right. Mm-hmm. And
or
trust. Go
yeah,
ahead.
or it's just right to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was gonna say trust the vision that he gave you.
Right.
So I think we feel like if if I didn't miss God on this, right? If
Mhm.
God told me to do this and I'm doing what he told me to do, we think that things are going to be easy.
Right.
And that it
It's
doesn't mean
not.
that it's going to be easy.
It
there,
doesn't.
Right. There's still challenges that you're going to face, things that you're going to have to overcome, work that you're going to have to put in. There's still this higher level version of you that you're going to have to become on your way to fulfilling whatever that vision is. So
Right,
just because it is a divine calling. So we're talking about business, right? Just
right.
because it is a divine calling doesn't mean that it's going to be divinely easy, you know.
That's good.
And people just got to get that. Really, I have to say, if it is a divine calling, you may find yourself facing more challenges because your divine calling is going to impact the world for
Right.
the good, which means that the enemy that exists out there doesn't want that to happen.
Wants to
So,
destroy you.
yes, yes. So he's going to do whatever he can to throw you off course. But again,
Starting with confidence.
starting with confidence. Yes. So, I put an offer out into the marketplace and no one responded. My business is a failure. Let me go back and get a job. Like, wait a minute. You just jumped like Superman or whoever, like over 20 tall buildings. You leaped over 20 tall
Exactly.
buildings with that, right?
Exactly.
No, let's get your messaging right. Did you do your market research? Right?
Right. Right.
Or maybe you were already on the wrong platform. Your people are on the platform, or just like, most people's first launch isn't successful. Like, you got to practice that too, right?
Exactly. That's the thing, Dr. Cherita, because we if we don't see an immediate
Like return or
return,
like, yeah, positive.
revenue,
Yeah.
the big check, we think failure.
Failure.
And we don't, and that's good because I know that the speaker is from the heavens.
Mm-hmm.
And I have seen God do some things in this business already. I have not been able to put as much time as I wanted, and that has improved drastically because
Mm-hmm.
I have a vision, I have a goal now, some things I want to accomplish. But what I'm saying is that I think that a lot of times, if we don't see this immediate return, we feel like this couldn't be from God because I know that He would provide. He has a cattle on 1,000 hills. I know that He would, open up these doors, and it's like, no. Sometimes He's trying to work something in you,
Mm-hmm.
patience.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes He's trying to work out some kinks before you get to the next level, before those doors open.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes He might put some resources on your journey with where you are to help improve so that when you move to, and I know that has been for me. I know, I mean, I think we've been working on the speaker since 2019. It's 2023, and there are some things that are coming into play now that I'm thinking, dag, I don't think I was ready for this
Mm-hmm.
then.
Right.
And now I have the tools. There's a level of confidence, in all honesty, that I have. There's some creative juices that are flowing, um, and so I can see where the timing. Sometimes the timing has to be right. So we have to really consider. Not It's not about you giving up on the dream, giving up on the divine seed that God planted, but it's about you working it, tilling
Right.
that ground,
Right.
working that thing.
Yes. Yes. And sometimes, and that's the hard part.
It is.
To be honest, that is the hard part, because it requires something of you, and for you to give it what it needs is likely going to call for some sacrifice,
Mhm.
and not just from you. If you have a family, your family is going to have to make some sacrifices too, right?
Yes.
It's going to cause you to have to reprioritize some things. It's going to cause you to have to be uncomfortable in some situations,
Right.
to learn new skills, to increase your knowledge base, to just take another step forward, because you can't in most cases, everything that God has for you is not going to fit on the step that you're on now. And that step isn't strong enough to
Right.
hold it anyway. Right.
Right.
So each step that you take, the more progress you make, he can add more to you
Mm-hmm.
until you're in a space um, that is big enough, wide enough, right, and
Right.
strong enough to hold everything, but also where you're also strong enough to hold it,
Right.
because there is accountability and responsibility that comes along with the calling,
Right.
the work that you have to do. Um, and it's important to note that a lot of that responsibility is outside of you, because once you've been called to do a work and there are people who are waiting for you to answer the call, they then become your responsibility.
The impact is
Yeah.
huge.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that's understanding the people around you. Sometimes you got to open your heart out a little up a little bit. And you said something, and what came to my mind is farmers. Farmers get up at like 4 o'clock, 4:30.
Mm-hmm.
Their children follow, and it's generational.
Mm-hmm.
They teach that from day one.
Mm-hmm.
Got to get out here and till the ground. We don't get up at 10 o'clock.
Right.
Day's over for a farmer. We got to get up at 4, get up
Mm-hmm.
early when everybody else is sleeping sometimes. So it requires the sacrifice. It requires, when everybody's sleeping and you stay up late, or everybody's sleeping and you get up in the middle, in the morning.
Right.
Um, and it really does require you to continue to stay connected and say, okay, this doesn't seem to be working. What
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what do I need to do here? I need to shift. I need to pivot. What do I need to do here?
Right.
So it's sticking with it until it gets to the level where it's supposed to be,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's critical.
Yes, yes, yes. So great conversation. We were only supposed to be on here for a half an hour.
We were we were like, okay, 30 minutes. Yep, that's
Right.
good.
Yes, because we both had long days today and are tired.
And still
But
gotta get my 18 minutes in, y'all. I'm just
yes.
there. And this is one of these days where I'm gonna set the clock for 18 minutes.
Yes.
Just look at the
That- that's all the vision is getting today.
that is yes, yes. Can I say something really quickly though?
Mm-hmm.
Ladies, entrepreneurs, even if you're not an entrepreneur, but you're in leadership, you're working in your field, your 9 to 5, whatever. This is such a great time to learn. To There's so much out there, so much information, um, in any field, and this is such a great time to um, just one of the things that I do is I might search something in Google, but or even in YouTube, watch a quick video and just take down some notes or read a quick article, um, and then jot down some notes in my journal book just so that I have it. Um, and so I just feel like this is a great time for us not to be comfortable, um, but to be calculating,
Mm-hmm.
right? And to do the things that we need to do to stay on top of our game, right? Um, so yeah, I just wanted to put that out there because I know that a lot of times we can really focus on, we get comfortable with
Right.
what we know,
Mm-hmm.
but let's not be afraid to learn something new, something that's going to complement our business,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that we can speak of and be experts in,
Right.
some things, because I have to ask myself, like, what am I an expert in? If it's, for example, if I'm the confidence coach, then I need to be reading material, quotes. I need to really arm myself with the tools that I need so that when someone says, hey, I would like to talk with you a little bit about public speaking, how do I improve my speaking? Well, I need to be able to have those tools,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if I can't give it to them at that moment, I might say, you know what, this is great. Let's get together. Let me get back with you. Let's create a time. And in that time, I'm making sure that I have what I need so that when I show up at that conversation or that meeting, someone's gonna say, I want to continue this conversation.
Hmm.
Let me
Yes.
get on your let me get on your Calendly
And send me your invoice.
and so you know, I know we are all in conferences and but I don't want us to be so busy that we don't take 15, 20 minutes out of, a day or an
Right.
hour out of our week and say, this is not just self-care, because we're learning how to self-care in the season of the world right now. We're hearing about self-care, but what about our learning, our own professional
Right.
development,
Yes.
so we can
Yes.
stay sharp?
Yes. And able and ready to
Mhm.
pour, you know. So this has been good, good, good,
Yes.
good, good. We can always have a really long talk around confidence. Because
Absolutely.
it's so key, so key. So I want to thank you, Dr. Malika, for talking with me this evening, and I want to thank all of you for tuning in, whether you watch live or are watching the replay. Again, this is the first of our summer pop-up series, I guess. We're going to show up and have some good conversation, let you learn a little bit more about the coaches on the coaches are in, and the work that they do, and dive deeper into their specific area of expertise. So we'll be back in a couple of weeks with Coach Joyce Proctor. She's going to join us, and we're going to be talking all things career and personal branding. So that is going to be a great conversation. So just be sure to tune in, because even though the coaches are out, we're still
The
in.
coaches are in. Yes, yes.
Yes, yes. So we'll see you next time.
See
Thank
you
you.
next time. Check me out at the speaker on my social media platforms.
Yes. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.